Hey everyone, John Hoffman from Kindred Spirits. We've got a fun look back this week. We're talking to Ashley Hatch in 2021, so in the past. You'll remember that was a pretty good season for her because she won the Golden Boot and the team won the championship. So that's fun. The first half of the episode is with Ryan Martin from Loudoun United, so if you want to check that out, please do. But if you want to fast forward to the Washington Spirit goodness, start at 29 minutes and 7 seconds. We'll be back next week with another episode from the archives.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFQ Refugees podcast. We have a very, very special guest on the line, a now three-time guest on the show, Ryan Martin, coach of Loudoun United. Ryan, how are you doing, my friend? How are you hanging in there?
Yeah, well, do I get like a plaque on a wall somewhere or something for being a three-time guest, or is there like an award?
You were talking to Felipe. He's a two-timer as of last week, and I think I mentioned a gold jacket or a green jacket. And then he asked me, how are you sending me a jacket? You don't know where I live yet. So apparently I'm going to have to actually, whatever I say, I'm going to have to stick up. So I'll think about that. I'll get back to you.
Yeah. No, appreciate you guys having me on. But no, I'm good. I'm excited. You know, one is the weather obviously turning for the better today, but
Yes.
no, just excited to get going. You know, it's been an unusual and a long off season. And the season couldn't get here, soon enough. And, we officially start, we basically have been going through the isolation protocols, and we start officially on Thursday. So we're excited, and I'm excited. It's just been too long.
How many players are you going to have in camp when you break?
So we'll end up, when we start up, we'll have 23 players in camp. Much like the first team taking some of our guys, we brought up some guys from the academy to give them an opportunity and to see where they are really, and to see if they can contribute this year, and give them like a little bit of a taste and go from there. But yeah, 23 guys as we head into camp this week.
Ted, I'm gonna ask the question that everyone has been asking us to ask, and I don't. And Ryan, you may not know the answer to this yet, so totally fine to say I don't know. Everyone has been asking, has there been definitive protocols from MLS or USL about interseason loans between the clubs? Has that been sorted out yet?
It was fun. It was Stuart Mares and I, our technical director, did a press conference yesterday and got the same question, obviously. But it's nothing has been officially given to us by either league as of right now. We are right now under the assumption it will be quite similar to last year, at least in the beginning, and then things can always change from there. But we're going under the impression that it's the same, and if things change, then great, and if not, then we'll go accordingly. But hopefully, one is neither one's gotten a schedule yet. Two is these protocols. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, and hopefully we get some news soon.
I would say so. The roster looks a little bit older than it was last year. I don't know the full numbers of everything as there's still some names out there. I think still as pending, according to the news anyway. Does it change the mission of the franchise a little bit? You already talked about bringing up some academy youngsters, but also I think I said it on the show last night. The levels are appearing to go up a little bit. The people you're signing are either a higher USL pedigree, or they're playing and they're scoring on an internet, or maybe again this is the yet to be determined players, but they're playing and they're scoring for their national teams, the under 20 level, under 23 level. Was this a conscious decision to make the team more competitive right now in the 2021 season while still balancing that original mission, or was it also, this is a long question, but is it also about the fact that you don't know that you're going to have access to those players again this year, and you're going to assume that you're not, so you've got to build maybe a little bit more resiliency into your attack?
To be honest, a little bit of both. In a lot of ways, I think one is last year when we went into the season, we expected to have 4, 5, 6 guys per game really for coming down. And, we missed out on that opportunity. Those guys missed on some things where, could have helped their growth. And it is what it is. So when we went into this year here, Stuart Mares, myself, Dave Casper, our mission was, okay, worst case scenario is we don't get anybody from DC United. Let's have a team that's strong enough to compete, but also a team that can have high standards, hold our culture for young guys that are coming through. And then the final piece, which is something that, Stuart, Dave, myself have really been, Jason, from the top down has been really looking to use our international spots for some interesting, talented young players that we think can make it into the first team. And, that's where like we brought Kyrou back this year because he had a short window with us just because of COVID and couldn't get his visa. And then he took 16 buses and a boat to get across here. But we saw enough potential in him that we want to give him a full year in 32 games and have Hernan take a look at him. The left back that we have coming in, Samaki Gasu, I'm very excited about him because I actually went and saw him play live last November 2019. And I've been, working with Dave Stu to get him over. So he's one that I see as he's 22, but he's still a very talented, athletic left back, which fits the profile of what Hernan's looking for. Then you look at Dar Luis Paz, with his pedigree and what he could become. You start looking, Nanan Hasu is another one that's a box-to-box Ivory Coast Youth International. And on my trip, I was able to make some pretty good relationships there. And, if one of them makes it, great. If two of them makes it, it's a home run. It's kind of the direction we're looking to go with this.
You got to work out like an employee referral bonus package. If you take those international signings that go up to the first team, there should be you get like a free gift card to a steak or something. Help us out. Like, I feel like the MLS roster rules are hard enough for me to remember. How many international spots do a USL Championship team get per roster?
You're given 7.
7? Okay, so a lot. All right, so that's...
Yeah, you're given quite a few, and then you can buy, sell, trade. Last year I think we used 3 all in all. The year before that we used 3 or 4. So this is really the first year we're making a big push. And we've used up to now I think 5 international spots, and then we're keeping some open for, you never know. And then the first team carries internationals, so you never know there either. But we aggressively went after these 5 guys that we quite like, and my mission is to hopefully get them to Hernan.
I won't press that question. I think there's a little hint in there. There's been a little bit of math of DC United fans trying to count international roster spots and number of non-green card holders. We'll leave that there. We'll let that percolate. Ted, go ahead and your turn.
Ryan, I gotta admit, man, I'm a little bit angry at you because you used your charm to lure one of my favorite players away from Richmond in Akwe, and I am upset that he will no longer be in Richmond. Just kidding. I'm really happy for him. Solid. I have thoughts on Akwe. He was a solid piece here in Richmond. What did you see in him, and what do you think he can bring to the squad this year?
Yeah, so, obviously when we looked at Akwe, it was, knowing that Hernan's coming in and wants to press and have a higher line. And that's something, to be fair, I wanted to do as well. So we were looking for someone that could help us cover space in behind, really. And a younger, he's 25, so still on the younger side, that can grow and become something and have a chance to really make the first team, and that's our vision for him and our hope. When I talked with Darren, as Swatsky, as we're going through the process, he's been, an incredible resource for guys, we should take a look at for him. And, I'm excited because, we'll play him twice in preseason. So it's another look and opportunity with his guys. But, he was just high on the kid. He goes, he's got potential. He's got to keep learning, keep growing and keep grinding through it. But yeah, I'm excited to get him up here. I think he's going to add quality athleticism right to our back line right away.
I'll allow it, but if you touch Terazagi, then we have beef. Let me just say that right here.
Yeah, we're gonna need Hernan and Nicholas and the Argentinians to get the Richmond Argentinians out. So.
You stay away. Do not.
They're gonna bring a tray of mate down there, and they're gonna steal your girl. That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna have steak and mate, and it's over. Talk about establishing a relationship with a new coaching staff. I think a lot was made. I don't know if it was media or whatever. There was a lot that was made all right, well, we've got a plan from the top down. Ben and Ryan working in lockstep. They're talking about style of play, formations, and making sure that players, as they move up, are ready and accustomed to make that jump. Now you got a new coach to get to know, a new assistant coach to get to know. I've read in some interviews those conversations have started to happen. But have there been those sort of extensive conversations about style of play, continuity with Loudoun? In our conversation with Hernan, it was very much like, we got to figure that out. Like I'm not coming with a fully formed bake philosophy. This is exactly what we're going to do from a play structure. I got to find out what players we have and how they play and how we can get together. So what's that conversation been like in dialogue between the three of you?
Yeah, I mean, he's been great because, he's been very open to me and, asking questions about what we're doing, asking questions about players that we've had, even some of the homegrown guys that, obviously I have a more of a history with and, always kind of picking my brain there. We talk, text, pretty regularly, now, which has been great now that he's kind of settled in. The big one I think is, one is with the way he kind of sees it. I kind of see in the game in a similar fashion. When Ben was here, we had an ideal way of playing, from a club philosophy and the way everybody wanted to do things. Ben gave me some freedom to do things, but he had a very defined player profile of guys he was looking at, what a right back looked like, what a left back should be. And those are kind of things that we really tailored with Jacob Greens and Moses and Griff. With Hernan, he's more of this is our system, this is our way of doing. Ben was more adaptable on the first team side because, it was trying to get results and trying to win games and trying at times had injuries and at times had a limited body. So he was, trying to, put things together where, what is it, a round peg and a square hole type thing at times, but he gave me the freedom to really push and do what I could. And, I'll keep him updated. Hernan is more, this is how we're going to do it. And this is the culture, the expectations, the standards. Our kind of common themes have really been principle based about what I can add to the players, from what he's doing with the first team. A lot of it's pressing, a lot of it is transition moments, a lot of it is, which is great, which is where, the modern game is going. And when DC made this hire, Jason, Dave, Steve Kaplan, it was, can we change our identity? Can we have a system? Can we have a style? Can we have a philosophy and everybody buying into it? So it's a little bit different. I'm excited because he's also a big Bielsa fan, which I am as well. So, we have that in common. We were laughing about that on Sunday. So he's so far it's been great. I'm excited to work with him. I know his head is spinning with everything going on right now, the roster, preseason, etc. So I've really also been just trying to help him as much as possible in terms of, even helping, their preseason trip and my contacts in the Carolinas and some different things there. So whatever I can do to help him, I've told him, I'm like, just let me know.
Great. One of the more recent developments has been finally sort of the appears to be actual progress after it seems like COVID kind of stunted any progress that would have been made on the new training facility out in Loudoun. How excited are you to when that? I think it's planning to open this summer from what I understand, but how excited are you to sort of have a central location with the, first team with Hernan and the players and seeing the academy kids? I mean, how big of a thing is that sort of to have a central place, I guess, where everybody can train, work out, you don't have to be scattered. I mean, how important is that going to be?
Yeah, well, I told Hernan the other day. I go, it's lonely out there since we're still in DC and we're in Leesburg. But no, for us, it's going to change everything in terms of the relationship. In terms of we're 1,000 yards away from each other. In turn, if we train at Segra, they train there. It's like we're right down the street. So if he needs players, wants to send me players, the locker room's there, the fitness facilities there, it will change everything. I know, Dave and Jason and everybody have been putting a lot of effort into it because this is a big piece of infrastructure. I love to say, Audi Field is, what a great stadium, and Segra is awesome. But the reality is the first team plays, 16, 18 games at Audi. They're going to use, the new training facility for 150, 200 days. So that's where time's invested. And that's where I'm just excited to have it out there.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I feel like that's an underrated aspect. Everybody talks about stadiums and everything like that, and in reality, where are you spending most of your time? You're spending most of your time at a training facility practicing. You spend 2 hours a week at a stadium during the season. The rest of the time it's at a training facility. So I have to think that has to be pretty important to have, and it helps bring in players too. It attracts players because that's
Absolutely.
something they want to see.
And it helps training too, because right now the first team's at at Audi, training, and we're at Segra Field, and there's only one field. So I know, like, Hernan, and going back to the Bielsa situation, when I saw him in, at Leeds and Bilbao, it's like he used like 2 or 3 fields, and Hernan will have that opportunity to rotate, to put different guys on different fields, rehab, and it just makes the environment more professional, and it just maximizes player performance, and that's rehab to just overall, especially with the young guys, to have the gym, the resources is going to change everything.
And I imagine you'll get a permanent office to decorate and have. What's your current situation? Do you have an office at Audi Field, or are you in a trailer? What's the situation at Segra for you?
I've got an office. I got an office at Audi, and then I sit up in the VIP lounge at Segra. If it's not too drafty and windy, and then then I'll have an office that that will end up being the big office in terms of, because that's where, again, I spend most of my time as well. And the more, myself, Hernan, Stu, Dave, etc., around each other, the better it is to bounce ideas off, to row in the same direction, which would be great.
We tried telling Hernan to look out there for real estate. When he moved in, he was like, I think I want to live in the city. I was like, everybody wants to live in the city, but I think you should think about this. Right now, there's not a lot of traffic. It's different. He didn't listen. So I think he's in the city. Are you in the city too, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in the city.
You guys are both crazy. Crazy.
Well, wait till he gets on the Dulles Greenway, and he's like, wow, this is a little bit further than I imagined.
Yeah, I think Russ Knaus is going to make a killing selling all you guys houses in Loudoun. I think everyone's going to be moving.
He'll be smiling. He's already waiting for it.
Absolutely. This is another question, a USL question, as I'm learning sort of the specifics. Can you explain to me the way the split season thing works with players that are college commit, like Jeremy Gray and Adam Lundgaard? Do they start the season with you? Do they not start the season with you, and they just are going to go report in the summer to college?
They'll start with us, go through preseason with us. In fact, Jeremy was in preseason with Hernan. Adam Lundgaard was with the first team as well. So, from now until June, when they head off to school, we're still going to push, because you never know when the next, Ian Harks or someone from college comes out. That's your own guy. That's, so it's taking care of one of your own. And, if you get Adam Lundgaard, who's going to Clemson in 3 years, he's a top center back because of his growth there, then perfect. So, so they'll be with us until about June, July. Depends on when some summer school starts, some summer training starts as well.
I hadn't thought about it until now, that college becomes almost an extension of the pyramid for the MLS team. So they develop them, they put them through their academy. Do they have first dibs on them if they come out from a player's rights perspective? Yeah, they
correct.
do.
So if Adam went to school and then 2 years was good enough to become a pro, we would have first crack to sign to a homegrown. Otherwise, we could either trade his rights or he'd enter the draft. And you basically have to make that decision about a month before the draft to give everybody enough time. But yeah, so we'll keep tabs, and that's why it's so important for us to send our academy kids to top universities and play in the ACC and play in big games and play at Maryland and see some different things there.
That's a question actually from Reddit. Does Loudoun United have a formal or informal relationship with the local colleges? He said that pushing the Loudoun DC United brand to college kids might be helpful for player development. I feel like that at that point we're already pretty well known, but I think to tag onto your question, or to tag on your response to the last question, how much time are you dedicating watching those players? Obviously you're pretty busy, but who's keeping tabs on those players? Who in the whole organization is looking at those players that are in college on a week out basis? Like, it's good, looking good. This is maybe something we're going to want to offer maybe a year early even. We're going to talk to them. Who does that?
Yes, Stuart, myself, Dave will quite a bit, but typically Stuart and myself watch quite a bit of games, and I've still got a lot of friends in the college game. So, like last Friday, I threw on, UNC, just to catch a game and see what's out there. And so we stay, I at least stay pretty on top of at least the ACC at the very least, just with my background and stuff like that. But it's one of those ones where I'll keep tabs on Adam, Jeremy, they're one of the top programs and playing in big games. So, who knows? It could go for, like Derek Etienne, who went for, one semester and then left and, didn't work at, Red Bulls, but ends up with the crew. But it's, everybody has their own path, and that's where just because Adam's going to Clemson or Jeremy NC State, it's not that they're not going to be a pro, and it's not that they're not going to be a pro here. So we'll keep tabs and tracking them.
So is it safe to say, as from another friend of the show, are you a Top Drawer Soccer subscriber, keeping tabs on all these college kids playing?
Yeah, I'm a subscriber.
There you go. That's a use special subscription code RFK. I don't know yet. Travis, we'll talk about that. We need to get some synergy here. But I imagine that's a pretty useful tool, keeping track of. you got a lot of lines in the water, I would imagine, at all times.
Yeah, Travis did a podcast the other day with two of my friends down at NC State and did a pretty good one. And the guy who ran the podcast played for my dad at Ohio Wesleyan. So small world.
Awesome.
Talk a little bit. Obviously, the new Virginia ordinances, I think, are going to start to sort of allow fans in the stadium. And hopefully, by the end of the summer, we can start talking. Maybe hopefully semi-full to full capacity. How important do you think it's going to be to sort of actually have fans watching the games? Does it add to the atmosphere? Does it change how you sort of the emotions that go into the game, or do we overrate it a little bit too much?
No, I think fans are a massive part of the game, and whether it's 500 people or it's 25,000 people, it's it's in a lot of ways at the professional level, it's what makes it. It's like you watch games on TV, and they're still good games, but they're not the same without the atmosphere, the fans, the crowd, the passion, the supporters of their own clubs, and so I can't wait till, like I said, if it's 50 people, 100 people, whatever, we'll welcome back, and obviously make sure safety is a priority. But yeah, we miss fans, and I think everybody in the world of soccer is dying for fans to come back.
I think Liverpool's missing the Kop end very much so right now with how they've been playing.
I think Klopp is trying to find a way to get some of them in.
Yeah. Thank you to Fulham for winning me $15 beating Liverpool. I have to bring that up again to Ted just to rub it in a little bit. There's a rumor that you were the welcome wagon for Nigel Roberto, or you were supposed to be. I won't ask you to confirm or deny this report. I think it was a Goff thing. How much of your role has been scouting? And I thought that one was particularly interesting, if true, because does your presence have by necessity mean that the player is being considered as more of a tweener, as more of a maybe playing between both rosters?
No, not at all. It's more, I've been here since 2017, so I've been here quite a bit. So I've done quite a bit of scouting for Stuart, Dave. Obviously, being a smaller organization in terms of the number of people in those roles, it's you're always wearing multiple hats. But yeah, for me, I went out to the college combine to scout there. I've been doing some scouting on for whatever they need, just to get more eyes on people. And I think the more eyes you have on these guys, the more discussions can happen. And then it becomes, all right, Hernan, does it fit into your profile? What are they like as people? So just because, I might see someone, might not see someone, that has nothing to do with where they might be. Would it help me and then someone else comes down and helps Loudoun? Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, it's, can we find the best players for DC United? And if they're not ready for DC United, can we help those players get games, confidence, minutes, develop, grow, so they can get back in?
That's a good answer. Fair way to put that. This is a nerdy question, but I remember in the inaugural season at Segra, the turf had just been installed, and I think there was some talk about the way the ball was moving on it, and the turf needed to settle. And now academy games are being played on it every weekend. I think Loudoun SC plays there too. Have you guys had an opportunity to work out there? Is it as good as it's going to get now? Is it a good field to play on from that perspective?
Yeah, it's a good field. It's broken in to the point where it's good and the ball rolls well. My hope is the water is being finalized and installed as we speak, and should be ready for the first game, so we can water the field hopefully before game.
Oh, it didn't have it before. Was that the case?
Yeah. Construction was it was supposed to be done last year, and then construction was a hold up, and then basically the way they had to drill it, they couldn't do it during the season. And then this year they're pushing right now to get it done by, knock on wood, May 1st is what I'm hearing.
Good. That makes a big difference particularly on a summer day.
Massive difference.
Yeah, that'll be great for the players. That'll be good for that's good. That's good for the quality of the game.
So hopefully the ball can roll a little bit faster, and I think that would just be a big addition.
Are there any other new Segra features from fans who didn't get to go? I guess last year there were a couple home games, but obviously attendance was capped.
They're going to have the bathrooms installed, I believe, this year. Like, so full, no more porta john, parks. The concession stands will be up and running. The locker rooms will be finished with showers and running water. So they're making some pretty big progress. And then I think at some point the press box will be up. As we get into the season, they're talking about a new scoreboard. So there's been some pretty good. Some pretty good movement with things, and I think it's good that now, obviously with DC United out there, it's just everybody's kind of in the same area, so it's not like we're out by ourselves. Dave, everybody sees what's going on, and it's going to be a very fun park to play in. A very once it gets all up and running this by May, we'll be in a really good place, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out there for Spirit games. I'm going to try to get there for Loudoun games this year. I'm going to be very familiar with the back roads to Loudoun. I think that's what I'm going to have to get from all the way down in Stafford. I'll figure it out. Thank you again, Ryan, for joining us. I'm going to have one more question for you. And I don't know if it's too early to ask this question, because you talked about some of the academy players getting a chance to come up to do sort of pre-work with the team. Do you have any young players that you're looking? Obviously, you got a lot of players you're bringing in now for the first time. You talked about the internationals. Are there any academy kids that you would tell fans to look out for? There's been a big interest, I think, on our listeners to sort of figure out that pipeline, because there's not a lot of visibility for it up until they make the Loudoun roster.
Yeah, for sure. I think for us, last week we had two just academy kids in with Hernan on the first team. So we had Owen Walls and Troy Matingu, who are both big center backs. Owen's very, very good on the ball. Troy's very physically gifted. I think those are two guys that are going to jump in right with me. Owen's still with the first team training, but other than that, Troy will jump back into me. Mateus Johannes is another 6, kind of in the mold of Jeremy Garay, who's going to be with me basically full time. And then there's like an attacking, he's a winger, a 10, Bucci, who plays with the U17 team. That's shown really well in trainings when I've had him. I started doing Monday trainings with the top academy kids just to get a look before heading into this week. So that will be the group that joins us immediately. And then, we'll kind of see how they progress, see how they do with things. Another kid that aged out of our academy, but is still of academy age, is Justin Rainey, who is an 03 and a talented kid and jumped into the roster late last year, but I'm hoping he's going to make a push this year to get some minutes as either a right back or right winger. He was always in that group with Moses and Griff and those guys, and an interesting piece as well. So those are the kind of the big ones that I would take a look at. I think those guys can hopefully break their way in.
I'm extremely upset that there are players born my high school graduation year that are old enough to play for, and I'm it's only going to get worse. But that's
it's crazy when I start seeing the 04s, 05s, 06. I'm like, wow, this is where did time go?
It's not great. It's not great at all.
No.
Yeah, I'm seeing the. I just turned 30, and then I ref soccer for a living, and so they had the. I think it was like the Jefferson Cup in Richmond, and they had the 2006 to 2011 was the young age group, and I'm just like, oh man, no, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah,
I'm not ready for this.
That's too young.
So Ryan, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Always a pleasure to have you on, and we're looking forward to the start of the season. No,
thanks for having me on and you guys' support, and just let me know when to pick up the plaque for the third time.
It's coming.
We will let you know.
We will get your address after the show, sir. We'll make it happen. At least a sticker or something.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Thank you again to Ryan Martin for joining the show. Stick around, guys. We're going to have a special interview with Ashley Hatch, where we're going to talk from the Washington Spirit. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for that. John will be doing that. I have to disappear into the void, the big void.
I will stay. Ted will go.
All right. Hey, folks. Before we get back into the show, just wanted to give a quick plug for our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/RFKrefugees. If you are enjoy the show and want to help us out, you can go to the website and donate. Not only do you get the satisfaction of helping out grow the show and make it better, you also get access to your own private feed for the podcast, even your own private RSS feed that you can then hook up to your podcasting app. That means you'll get first access to the interviews like this one we're doing right now and other shows as well. So please go to this website, patreon.com/RFKrefugees, and donate today.
All right, welcome back to RFK Refugees. Just John. Ted has gone somewhere else. I think maybe he's refereeing a game or something. I don't know. He just goes away sometimes. I want to welcome Ashley Hatch of Washington Spirit, who is joining us here on the pod. Ashley, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we just talked to Andy last week, and I think that the most reasonable question to ask after a 2020 season that was insane and weird and exciting in some spots, but also just crazy. Talk about your experiences in the Challenge Cup and the fall series. I know that you guys were down there in Florida before everything kicked off. You had sort of things were gonna felt like normal, and then all of a sudden they weren't at all. So run us through your 2020. It's very eventful.
Yeah, 2020 was crazy. It's kind of funny to be back here in Florida and think that it was a year ago that we had one training session in Florida and then we got kind of shut down. So it's exciting to be here and actually be able to like train and actually have a proper preseason. But yeah, 2020 was crazy. There was a lot of unknowns and we all had to be super flexible and just kind of grind it out where we could. Once we all got the news of the Challenge Cup, we were super excited to actually have games in sight because for a while we were kind of training and prepping for the unknown, which is really hard. But I think, at the Spirit, and I'm sure all the other teams in the league did such a good job of staying focused for whatever was coming up next. But yeah, then we had the Challenge Cup, which was super unique. And it was really cool to be one of the first sports teams back and to kind of like pave the way for other teams to come back during the pandemic. And yeah, the NWSL did a great job of hosting a tournament. It definitely wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it because we got to play together on the field, and playing without fans is definitely weird. But now I feel like we're kind of used to it. So I think it'll be fun once we start getting fans in again. I think we'll have to get used to that again, but I think it'll be really exciting.
Yeah, Andy brought up her thoughts on the Challenge Cup. She immediately, I think, regretted being sort of brutally honest about the Challenge Cup. Sort of just like what we were talking about, though. So like the last year was unique. Was a unique circumstance. Like it had to be something kind of weird. It had to be in a bubble. It had to be all on one site. It came off extremely well from a TV perspective. From a performance on I think I told her like the first couple games looked a little rough because obviously it was basically preseason. But then by the times, but late in the group stage and in the knockout stage, it was like prime regular NWSL soccer. So, I think it'll be hard to recapture that. You're not in the same site anymore. All the games aren't being played in Rio Tinto. You don't have there won't be a slide in the I want to be behind one of the corner flags, or maybe there will. I don't know if they're gonna. Maybe they'll put them there in the two spots. But what are your expectations for this year? Like, this is a different experience. There's going to be, I think a little bit more how it'll go, and then that you got a full season behind this instead of just who knows when we'll play again. Maybe we'll play in the fall, maybe we won't. You'll know you got a full season after this.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna apply the skills that I learned from the Challenge Cup and just be prepared for anything because this Challenge Cup, you're right, isn't going to be the exact same. We're all not going to be in the same area. We're not going to be playing our different teams. We're going to be playing our, conference. We're going to be traveling. We're going to have some home games, some away games. So I think it will definitely feel a lot more like the fall series. The fall series, towards the end of our season, started feeling a bit normal because we had more of a scheduled routine and rhythm with practice throughout the week, game at the end of the week, and then some of those games are away, so like traveling, leaving midweek, having a game, coming back, prepping for the next one. So I'm hoping it'll feel a bit more like that, a little bit normal, but it just kind of has the Challenge Cup tag to it, because I think that the fans really enjoyed that, and which we're super happy about. And I think it'll be fun to have the aspect of, East Coast, West Coast conference, and then that championship at the end, I think will be really exciting.
Yeah, and I think too, you're starting before the other U.S. leagues, so that you've got the same sort of advantage that you did last time. You guys were the only sports game in town for that entire month, for most of that month, and it was awesome. I think it was cool to have the spotlight on you guys in that way, and then also, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this. It was very annoying in the after effects for them to be like, "Yeah, the NBA did a great job. They were the first ones to do a bubble, and no one else did it, and that's great for the NBA." So those who know that was not the case, and you guys went to it first. It seemed like Richie, in his interviews sort of at the beginning of this, was seeing the Challenge Cup as sort of an extension of preseason. Like, he's like, we're not gonna run the same lineup every game. We've got to get people sort of set. We got to look at these young players and see how they fit in our system, etc. Is that sort of the vibe you get from in the preseason, that's going to be? It's a slower build up. It's not a build up to game one of the Challenge Cup. It's a build up to the season and into the the trophy at the end of it.
Yeah, you definitely have to have like a long-term plan, because we have such a long season and this weird
and a long preseason. You have a really long preseason
too. Definitely, yeah. So I think you definitely have to have a long-term plan, but I know Richie wants to win the Challenge Cup. He might not say it, but I know he does. But I think we can do both. I think we can still, explore different players, different formations, or whatever it is, integrate those players, with veterans, and still put on a good performance and compete for the Challenge Cup. Because I know I'm going out there to win, and I know everyone else on the team is going to as well, but I think we're going to definitely, work out a lot of kinks along the way. And I think that's going to be the same for a lot of the NWSL teams, just like the Challenge Cup was. A lot of them haven't. The only fulfilled experience they had was playing against themselves. And I know for us, we got tired of scrimmaging ourselves, and we were just really ready to scrimmage someone else. So
yeah, I can understand. Speaking of that, so I assume congrats on your hat trick on your first game in however many long. I understand. I know the competition or whatever, but it's still, you want to score goals. 3 goals is everything to do. Your competition's limited by COVID restrictions, right? They have to do what you guys do for 2 weeks ahead of time before they play. Have I heard that right?
Yeah. I'm sure that it's 2 weeks. I know that they have to get, I think, 2 negative tests, something like that. But yeah, it's pretty limited. And it's also hard because the college season is going on right now, and normally that's not happening. So we're kind of also limited in that area. But it is nice, no matter what the level is, just to get those games in. And Palm Beach Atlantic, they were a D2 team, but they were still decent enough for us to get out there and get a feel of a real game. We were able to put our kit on, and it had a fun feel to it, and it was just exciting. And I think, especially for our rookies, I think it's a good game to get them integrated and not so much pressure.
Yeah. For a goal scorer, right? You just need to see the ball go in the back of the net.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter who it's against, as long as it's not against your own team and it's against another team. It's good
exactly.
stuff. Speaking of, you talked about the veterans coming into the season. This is your 4th season. This will be your 4th season with the Spear. Is that correct? Or 3rd or 4th? 4th, I think, 4th. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you feel your role in the team evolving? There's been so much change. There's been a lot of turnover. I think I don't want to speculate. Obviously, Tori is the OG, but it's been a real big roster turnover. How do you feel like it's? Do you feel different in the locker room? Do you feel like you have a different role to fill for the young players and the other? You're still a young player, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. I think my role has definitely evolved to being more of that veteran leader, especially for the young players coming in, and just helping them in whatever way I can, whether that's talking to them before, after training, during training. Also doing my best to just lead by example. We actually had a meeting last night with our strength and conditioning coach, and he just kind of went over how he said something like, what got you here isn't what's going to keep you here. And I think that's so true, because there's just so many other aspects of the game when you're a pro that you have to stay on top of if you want to stay here. And I think, I learned from a lot of the veterans before me on other teams I was on, but also, Tori Huster is a great example of someone who knows how to stay here and how to take care of her body and also perform at the highest level. And so that's something that, I want to return to those younger players, is to help them, because I think it's really important. I think we have a lot of talent coming in and we definitely want them to stay here for long term. So just helping them in whatever way I can.
You make a good point. I bet it's hard to tell an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old about recovery. Because they're probably like, stretching's for old people. I don't do that. I just go play. So I think that's a good point. I didn't think about that. The Spirit have added a lot of good midfield options all over the field. Lots of really great acquisitions in the offseason. Losing Rose hurts, but it appears that the style of play that Richie wants to play, based on the players he's bringing in, but also on the interviews, seems like you should have a lot of service coming up this year. It seems like you're in a position to have a really good season, a really productive season. Are you excited? I mean, obviously you're excited for a new season, but it feels like it's as a forward, you want to make sure that you're getting as many opportunities as possible to finish. It feels like that's going to happen more and more this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with you. I think that's definitely something that our team can work on. And I think that's something at the end of the past seasons that I've kind of come to Richie and like, hey, I want to be able to put myself in better positions to score more goals, to be in the box and create more chances for our team. And I think we definitely have the midfield core to do it. And I think we have a lot more attacking minded midfielders as well. So I think it's going to be great. And I'm excited. We're finally like out on the pitch playing together full field. And it's exciting to see all the possibilities of getting forward and getting into the attack. So I'm excited.
I read an interesting interview with you from, I think, Just Women's Sports. I think it was this year or last year. And it was sort of talking about they asked a question about your style of play and the fact that you were previously a 10, a creative player, and then now you're where you are, right? You're 9, you're a goal scorer, and how you kind of get not necessarily torn between those two things, but coaches want to see one skill set out of you, and some things just come naturally. Like I know I saw a lot of times in the Challenge Cup that I would see you dribble in the box. I would see you take the ball and move out wide and have somebody else hopefully come in and fill that near post to the far post run. What's that? Do you feel like that's still an advantage to you? Do you feel like that sort of well-rounded background helps you, or do you feel like if you're however you're expected, if you're expected to score goals, if you're expected to stack up goals, and that's how you're being evaluated, do you feel like that's an advantage or a disadvantage for you?
I definitely say it's an advantage. I feel like maybe a couple of years ago when I was a little bit less experienced, I would get nervous about having to switch those roles of, playing a high, stagnant 9 or playing, a very mobile 9 that can come underneath or get wide. I would get kind of nervous, like having to switch those roles on the fly, whether it was dependent on the team we were playing or the formation we were playing, or if it was like going from like a U23 camp or full team camp and coming back into my club environment. Sometimes I'd get nervous about that. But now as I've, been able to experience all those different roles, I kind of see it more of as an advantage because I feel like I'm able to use all of those strategies and kind of switch them depending on who we're playing or what role I need to play for the team that day. So I definitely say it's an advantage for sure.
And Richie knows your style of play, and he knows what to expect from you, and he knows. I think that's the familiarity's got to help too, as far as like what's expected of me, and what are at the end of the year, what are you most looking from me from? If the offense is clicking and scoring, and I have some more assists than if I'm even on goals and assists, that's good because we're scoring. It's all that matters.
Exactly.
So I asked this question to Andy also. It feels like the league's evolving a little bit as far as the balance of power. Their players being loaned out to Europe. They're going to stay. They're not going to stay. Who knows? But even within the league, there's lots of player movement. And I feel like the teams that you would have looked at to begin the year 2 years ago or last year are not guaranteed. They don't feel as guaranteed, right? It doesn't feel like it's like, all right, well, who's going to play North Carolina in the final? Like, who's that going to be? It still could be the case. I definitely don't want to shovel dirt on them yet. I think that would be stupid. Yeah. But it does feel like there's a lot more opportunity for teams to have a good season and make it to that final round and have a different champion. How does that feel as a team? I think the Spirit had a really good Challenge Cup. I think you guys were cresting right into it. Andy got hurt. Rose had to play 20 minutes or something for a national team game that didn't come, which I don't think I'm going to get over the fact that that's her last game in the kit, but that's my problem. But the fall series felt kind of weird. It felt sort of like it felt like some friendlies at the end of the year, which is good because I think more games are better. But how do you feel coming into camp this year? The league is open to win. You guys are one of the teams that I think people are going to be looking at to build on last year's performance, and with the players you've added. How are you feeling? You feel confident?
Yeah, definitely. I'm confident. I'm excited. And I mean, I definitely think we're a team to look out for. So I'm excited.
That's a better position to be in, I think, than 2018 was rough. 2019 was building. I feel like it's probably more fun to be the big dog and have people trying to bring you down versus being surprised when you win. I think it's probably more fun to be like, yeah, we're supposed to win. We won and we're supposed to win.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So I would say there's been, speaking of the changes from 2018, 2019 to now, big changes to the club. Ownership, obviously, from investment, sponsorship, and now I think the approximate number is 350 ownership group for the Spirit, something like that. 7,000 people. How is that being felt as a player inside the club? Like, what is that on a day-to-day basis from the first year you got here to now? What's the change?
There's been huge changes, and it's been fun to be a part of it. I think back in 2018 or whatever year it was when I first was on this team, Andy was here with me. That was her rookie season. We often reflect back on that year, and we have laughs about it now, but during the time it was so hard to be in that position where we weren't winning like we wanted to, but we had the talent and we just were struggling. And to now look at where we are now, having all this amazing support from our ownership group. And we had a really nice dinner with Michelle King, one of our new majority owners here, and she's taking really good care of us here. And just the excitement that, the owners bring to our sport and our team, it's just really raised that standard for us as players on the field and just among each other. And to feel that support from them, it's so important. And it was something that was definitely missing a couple years ago. I think we definitely had support, but the amount of support has just tripled. And so it's definitely raised our expectations and our standards. And it's really cool to see new players coming into this environment where it's at, and to see their eyebrows kind of raised like, oh, wow, like these guys are serious, like their ownership group is serious. And it's just like, yeah, like, welcome to the Spirit. Like, we're a big deal, and we're going to continue to be a big deal.
Tori's in the corner like, I've seen some things. You don't know what it used to be like. You kids today with your Xboxes and whatnot. Yeah, I would imagine that big changes for sure. Yeah. So that's great progress. I told Andy that I think I recommend this to you is just go down that list and just add all those people on your LinkedIn. Like, I feel like this is a prime opportunity for some business opportunities down the line, or even, during your career. I would do that. I would do that in a minute. Yeah. I might do it now. I just might do it anyway. I've done
the ownership from last year, so I need to do all the new
big long list. Hit them all. Like, hey, listen, we're close. We're coworkers. We should, know me from the Spirit. So I want to talk. You got a call up to U.S. camp recently. Didn't dress, but you got the opportunity to go through the. Was it January? What was it? January? I don't know what time is anymore. What month was it?
I went to the October and November camp.
Got it. So you've had your caps. You've been called in a couple times. I read in the same interview your first call up wasn't until U23s.
Yes.
And this is sort of diversion. I'm actually getting to this question first rather than this most recent call up because I'm interested by it. Did you feel like was it a miss? Was it an overlook that it was the U23s, or did your game start hitting the peak when they noticed you? Did you feel like there was identification that didn't happen, or you just feel like they saw me at the right time? I got called in at the right time when I was really clicking.
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, my youth career looked a little bit different than probably most girls who are in the youth national teams at such a young age. I, bounced from club to club because my family moved a lot. I didn't do ODP. I, didn't play soccer on Sundays, so I missed a lot of like championship games. So I think there was definitely like missed opportunity from that, but I think it all worked out for the best because I think when I did get that call up, I was just really playing well in college, really enjoying, the level that I was at. And it kind of just came as like a pleasant surprise, just getting that chance and that opportunity. I would say that first camp, the U23's camp, was really hard because I'd never been in that environment before. But it was a really neat experience, and it also kind of made me more hungry to get that again and to continue to move up and eventually hopefully get that full team call up.
I can't imagine coming in at that age and having everybody else that had been in that camp probably have been in there since 12, 13. They know what this is all about. I cannot imagine how the culture shock. What was more of a culture shock, that or your first day as a pro in North Carolina?
I mean, I would say that probably because I had never been in that environment. I had no idea how, it was supposed to look. And also it was kind of hard because all those girls that I was with, like I remember Rose being there. She was unfortunately hurt, so she didn't get to play. But like I remember, I mean, Sonnet was there. I don't think Andy was there, but like all these girls, I remember they just all knew each other and they were all just like best friends because they had been,
Right.
going to World Cups together, traveling, different.
Who's this new girl? Who's this new girl? Where'd she
and
come
everyone
from?
just kind of like, who are you? And I was just like, hi, I'm Ashley. Like, yeah, I play BYU, so like I was super nervous. But I mean, North Carolina, I feel like I had that first full team camp my senior year, and that really kind of, I wouldn't say prepped me for that, but helped me because I was able to have a lot of really solid conversations with girls playing in the league. I took advantage of that opportunity and asked them anything and everything about playing in the NWSL, like all the ups, all the downs, the positives, negatives, like blah, 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 like all the rules. Some people don't even know the rules. Like, I don't even know all the rules yet either. But so I feel like I had a little bit, better information going into that first day of preseason in North Carolina. But it was still a shock, because I was playing with, I don't know, I remember calling my dad after the first day of practice. I was like, holy crap, Dad, these girls are good. Like, I remember playing with Dabinia, and I was like, this girl, like, where'd she come from? Like, people play soccer like that? Like, it was just, I don't know, it was really cool. And it definitely pushed me to raise my level so I could continue to hang in that environment.
I got to imagine that first day. You hear all the stories about rookies' first day in camp, and I hear it in MLS, I hear it in NWSL, I hear it in every league. Really, it's like the speed at which the game moves catches you by surprise. But I would imagine too, like I keep thinking about that US call up. I keep thinking about how I would feel, not necessarily knowing like, all right, I've got the call up, so they see value in me. I play where I play now. I've heard of some of these people. I know their games. And like, how does my game translate immediately? And then the first time you're out there in practice, like, all right, well, I guess I get to see. I guess I'll get to see how this first scrimmage goes and how I go through drills. And if I look like I don't belong, then I'll know right away. But I imagine if you feel like you belong right away, that's got to be an instant jolt of confidence. Otherwise, maybe you want to go home.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So talk about the fall camps this year. Was that Vlatko's first camp? First fall camp?
No, he had a couple games and stuff before, but it was one of my first experiences with him.
What was it like? Obviously there was, I think it ended with 2 friendlies in Europe, right? Is that where that camp ended?
Yeah, so the November camp we played 1 game against the Netherlands. I unfortunately didn't dress for it, but it was still a great opportunity to be, among the team and to continue to learn during practice, in team meetings, in film, in private, individual meetings and all that kind of stuff. So it's always a great environment to be in. And it definitely, like for me, sets my personal standards for myself super high, especially coming back into the spirit. And one of my main goals is to keep that, that level of training, that intensity for myself at that level, so that whenever the time comes for me to go back into camp, I'm not, trying to make up for lost time or trying to, make a jump. I'm already going to be there. So
right.
Anytime I can be in that environment, it's good.
Have the coaches communicated to you what they're looking for out of your play, as far as, for future call-ups? Like, what do you need to work on? What do you need to focus on to get back here? They communicated that with you?
Yeah, so we definitely have communication. We all kind of have, I guess, like a contact through the coaching staff that we can talk to on, our terms if we have any questions or if we need help with anything. I think that's the hardest part. I feel like they never give you like specifics of like, you need to work on this and you're going to make it. I think the hardest part is because since we are at such a high level, everyone is so good. And so just continuing to be good at those things, for me as a forward, scoring goals definitely helps my case. But there's girls in front of me, especially on the national team, who have loads of experience, winning World Cups and being in those environments that I cannot offer at the moment. So it's kind of just staying ready and being ready for whenever that chance comes.
It's like one of those jobs where you need experience to get experience type of thing. Like, listen, I can get World Cup experience if you give me World Cup experience. I could do it then. All right, so we're sort of wrapping up here, but we're getting into playing games in front of people again. Not a lot of people, but I saw the email go out this week. Segra Field's going to host some people and an Audi hopefully later on in the year maybe. Mm-hmm. I gotta assume you guys are tired of playing in front of empty stands. I gotta imagine that's got to be pretty exciting, particularly on the back of the fact that like right before this happened, like we're gonna have half our games at Audi Field and half our games at Segra will be at the Plex some. And then they're like, whoop, nope, no fans. We're not going to have any fans at all. No fans. And now you're getting back to it. I got to imagine you guys are pretty pumped.
Oh, yeah. We're super excited. I know all of our family members are like itching to come see us. And I mean, I feel bad. My poor husband hasn't seen me play a game in real life in over a year. The one game that we had, some fans, I think like maybe every person had one family member. I wasn't able to play because I was injured. So I know I'm super excited for that opportunity whenever, once it happens to have fans in the stands, because I think it always brings an energy. I think every athlete can tell you that it's super fun being able to play in front of fans and to feel their energy and excitement. So excited is almost the understatement.
I bet. It's probably a special skill to get yourself up for a game in an empty stadium. Like I feel like you know the stakes, right? Like you're being paid. It's a real game. Like you got the jersey on. You're in front. You're on TV, but you've been playing in front of people now for quite a while. Like through college, you've been a professional now for a while. Like what was the mindset adjustment for you to get there? And were there conversations about that? Were there sort of like the team was sort of trying to help pump each other up, or did everyone just say, this is what's expected, let's go out there and we got to do our thing?
I'd say a little bit of both. I mean, I think it was definitely a conversation, within our locker room and among each other that like, it's going to be hard, especially, when you get into overtime or the last 5 minutes of game or important game, that we're going to have to be there for each other. I think for me personally, also something that I had to work on is without fans, you can literally hear everything. So, and you can also, your own thoughts are just like louder, and so when it's on the turf and you're tired and it's hot, it's like, what are you saying to yourself in that moment? Because whatever you're saying to yourself is really loud because you don't have that fan noise to kind of drown it out. So I definitely think that was a skill that you either had it or you didn't, or you're working on it. And so I think it was pretty obvious at times, like which players had that, which players didn't. And if players didn't have it, were we able to kind of pull them up and say, hey, it's okay. Like, we can do this and help each other out. So it was definitely.
Where did you place yourself in that? Where did you place yourself in that sort of pantheon? You feel like you had it?
I feel like I did. I mean, that was one of my, like, I had a really good off season before, the shutdown. I hired a sports psych and I was already kind of practicing these things and working through these things. And so, I mean, it was something I was continually working on, but I knew how to work on it. And I knew, I had this skill set to, create that mindset when I needed it. So I definitely feel like I had it, and it was something that really helped me get through the Challenge Cup with everything going on and without the fans and, the altitude, the heat, the turf. Like you can make so many excuses, I think, during that Challenge Cup. But just being able to dismiss those excuses and focus on other things, I think was really important.
And if your own thoughts were loud, I imagine hearing Richie in an empty stadium was maybe even louder, maybe drowning out your own thoughts possibly.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for joining us. You guys I think the Spirit are playing IMG Academy this weekend. I expect another hat trick or 4. We'll see. Good luck on the upcoming season. I think you guys are set up to do great things. Good luck in the Challenge Cup, and then good luck on the regular season. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you. Quick pause in the action means I get to remind you to make sure that you're following us on all of the platforms. We do live video on Instagram before, during, and after games this season. We have a live show every Monday at 8:30 that's on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a Discord channel for all you Gen Z listeners, and the links for all these things are on our website at rfkrefugees.com. And if you're listening to this show and haven't subscribed yet, just head over to rfkrefugees.com/subscribe, and you're one click away from hearing us twice a week forever, or until you unsubscribe. But no one ever quits on RFK Refugees. They just don't. Anyway, thanks, and keep enjoying the show.
Thank you so much to Ryan Martin and Ashley Hatch for joining the show this week. We will be back on Monday with our regular live show. We hope you enjoyed this, and thanks again. Vamos.